Welcome to the Indie PPC podcast. I am your host, Joey Bidner, and in today's episode, I want to talk about the end of best practices. We are entering an era where I find there is no such thing as an account structure that is truly reproducible across accounts. It used to be where, based on your experience, you knew, okay, this is the general structure of an e-commerce account. This is the general structure of a lead gen account. Maybe within industries, you had a specific, formula to your structure that worked. And I'm finding that those rules are being completely thrown out the window with the new campaign types that are being introduced to Google Ads. PMax, AI Max, Demand Gen. These campaign types do not have hard, fast rules on how they work, how we should run them, if we should run them alone, how we should structure them, how we should pair them with other campaign types. I am finding that in almost every case, they require their own ground zero starting point of testing to find the formula that works for the account that I am in. So that's going to be the main portion of the show. I also want to talk about an interesting LinkedIn article that shares a little bit of news about how ads are making their way into AI mode that has me quite concerned. So without repeating too much of what I said in the intro about this topic regarding best practices in Google Ads, I truly think we're in a different era of ads management, and it's going to change how we as a community interact, because until now it's always been sharing strategies of, okay, this is how you typically run a search campaign, a shopping campaign. And when PMax came out, for example, we did the same thing. We all kind of scrambled to test it, figure out what works, came up with a structure and a methodology of how we should run our PMax campaigns. But I just don't find any structure or any strategy in particular remain consistent and true across any account, really. And I'm not just seeing this in my accounts, but I have a lot of eyes on accounts in my coaching sessions and in my audits with these are services that I offer. So I've got my hands and eyes in a lot of accounts, and I'll always see things that truly surprise me. Somebody will open up the hood on their account and I'll say, oh man, this is not structured, quote unquote, right. This is not a best practice structure. But then we'll dig into it and we'll see, oh wow, the search terms are really good. They are really aligning with the purpose of this, and management today is less about knowing what works and just applying your formula. And it's a lot more today about knowing how to test a structure and system to prove something to work or not work. I find that's where ads management is going. And again, up until now, a big part of our service as ads managers was always, hey, I know what works. I've got the sweet sauce, right? That's no longer the case. It's how well can we prove or disprove what we know or what will work for you. So whenever I enter an account right now, I start from the ground zero of, okay, we need to come up with a structure that'll allow us to point us in the direction for the next test. And this requires a different skill set and a whole lot of discipline, especially when you enter an account that's a big mess and you need to change a lot. It's, not just about stripping it down and applying the structure you think works, but it's about using what the account has and making strategic decisions to prove or disprove a certain piece of it so you can move in a direction. And, I'm going to be sharing pretty soon. I've been working with a friend of mine who's like an AI wizard, and we're building a little tool on how to better report and follow account changes and tests. I've always found that Google Ads kind of blows it on this, where there's not really a good tool for just tracking changes. Yes, they have the experiment function, but I find that's only really good for certain use cases. I've always wanted something that will notify me, send me results of a change that I made. So I don't, one, forget about the change, but also have the results sent directly to me. So that's a conversation for another video, but I am working on a tool to help with this because, again, that's where I think management is going. We need to be expert at testing, disproving our own theories, and finding what works for each account, as they are each their own formula to success, or they each require their own formula to success. And it's funny, even when, making this video, part of my plan today was to, share some of the different strategies that I'm seeing that work, and I don't even think this is the place for it, because then I'm just further perpetuating this cycle of, oh, this is the best practice of a structure that works. Not to say that you shouldn't try it, but I want to step away from this idea of just because it works for me means it will work for you. Now, maybe sharing strategies, sharing structures is still helpful, because then it allows us to think outside the box in our own accounts. If you've got an account that's not working and you hear about a structure from somebody else, you can think, oh, maybe I will try that. And that's the essence of where management is going. We've got to be able to rip apart what we know works, put it back together, try something new. And yeah, it's just been really flipping me on my head, because it's certainly not going to go back to the way it was. I think one of the big reasons that we see so much inconsistency between structures is because there's so many different campaign types, and I'm starting to find it's about a mixture of them, and finding out what combinations of campaign types work for each account, let alone the structures within those campaign types. And this is not going anywhere. It's not like Google is going to remove search or shopping, because, to be honest, even though PMax and demand gen are their, bread and butter, that's their new real money making squeeze, I think manual bidding, standard shopping, standard search are not going anywhere, mostly because of all the trouble Google's getting in with the DOJ on price fixing and transparency, by having a campaign type that allows them to say, hey, we have options for you to be able to manually control your own bids and put in your keywords. It kind of protects Google a little bit. So I think that those campaign types will always remain. And I do applaud Google Ads for, what was it, about a year and a half ago, allowing for better cross campaign management, meaning you can run PMax and search and shopping all alongside each other, and they work well. It's when PMax first came out, it was just a massive cannibal. It just ate everything, and if you had standard shopping or search next to it, they died. But about a year and a half ago, they changed the rules on how PMax navigates with other campaigns, and I find it is sweet. Like, I've got a lot of accounts where I'm really starting to use PMax to push standard search and shopping, and vice versa. They work together, but you have to be strategic on how you leverage each one, and that's kind of the sweet science of using them. But again, in every account, it's different. I don't have the same structure in many of my accounts anymore. And again, when I jump into a coaching call, it's less about me saying, oh, you're doing this wrong, this is how you should do it. It's about, okay, no, let's look at the results that you have. Let's see where the pain points are, and let's put forward a plan for you to test to prove things right or wrong, so you can make your next step in finding the best formula for your account. That's where a lot of my coaching calls are going right now. And it makes it difficult, because you can't give necessarily hard and fast answers that just completely turn around an account overnight. Everything is a work in progress. And this actually gives me a lot more confidence in the position our jobs as ads managers have in this environment, right? I think when PMax came out, a lot of people thought, oh, well, this AI driven campaign, there goes my job as an ads manager. I find that these campaign types require more expertise, more nuance, not only because we need to be able to read between the lines to leverage and push and pull the algorithm in the way that we need it to work, but also, again, because there is not one way to run it. It's a very complex machine in how you structure it holistically in your account. And maybe that will change. Maybe it will just become one campaign type to rule them all, but I don't think that is coming soon. I don't think it's anytime soon. I honestly think we still have a lot of running room on being the experts in the room as marketers to navigate this complicated platform. And it's our job to just, do everything we can to change the way that we think every day about what we know works. And again, I find that that is the essence of being a good ads manager. We need to always challenge the way that we think and approach things new every single day, because these platforms are changing so fast. And as soon as you fall into that complacency in what I knew yesterday will work today and tomorrow, then you're already behind. So I just want to say, keep trying new stuff and come up with your own real method of testing and observing changes in your results. And if that's just hanging on to a few key KPIs and having a system on how you see them change over time, it can be as simple as that, right? Effectively monitoring tests is not about overcomplicating what you're currently doing. Sometimes it's about simplifying it, and just about simplifying down what you monitor, but then keeping that system consistent in that account. This is what we monitor, and when it drops below a certain threshold, we know that doesn't work. Having that system in place and sticking to it is how you can really see how things change over time, and breaks you from being one of those knee-jerk reaction managers that just flinches at short-term data. Anyways, now I'm completely digressing and rambling, but I hope this kind of helps you reframe how you look at your accounts, how you look at a new account, because times are seriously changing. And this brings me to one other key point, and that is we need to be careful of how we listen to advice about Google Ads on best practices, because I've fallen trapped to this where, there are some thought leaders that I follow quite religiously, and I take what they share a little bit too literally on how they're proving something worked for them as the way to do things. I'm not going to name any names, obviously, but there's a few people out there that I had to literally start unfollowing, because their advice, though it worked for them in one use case, their advice was too consistently saying, this is the way that you do it, this is the way that you have to do it. And it was screwing me up, because I would believe them and I would implement some of their strategies with a little bit too much confidence, and ended up just screwing up all my shit. I'm not trying to say you should stop listening to people or unfollow people, but we need to approach every piece of advice from anybody out there with a grain of salt, and make sure that you have your own critical thinking in place when you try something new that somebody else recommends, and do things slowly. Adopt a new strategy that you heard about slowly with a testing method in place. And in today's era of social media and thought leadership in our space, I just see it too often. People saying, this is how you have to run things, or this is the recipe for success because I am seeing it this way. Hit the brakes. Review a strategy with your marketing thinking cap on before applying anything. And again, have your own methods for testing so you can prove or disprove it. Yeah, that's a huge piece of advice for me, because I have been kind of screwed on that one. And it really It just frustrates me right now seeing how much conviction some people have out there on their strategy, saying that this is the way to do things. Hopefully I'll never come across that way as saying like the way that I do something is the only way to do it. Yes, I might share some success I got in one strategy or methodology, but we all need to approach our accounts as individual creatures in this ecosystem that requires its own sweet little formula. So be careful out there. Okay, so up next, I want to talk about an interesting LinkedIn post that got me a little bit concerned. So this is a post from Thomas Etchell. He is a Google Ads thought leader that often posts like breaking news, so I really like to follow him. And he's got a big Google Ads update from Think Week 2025. I'm not really sure what Think Week is, to be honest. I think it's just one of those summits that Google hosts for sharing their plans. But anyways, he has a number of different pieces of news from this Think Week, but the one that stuck out to me was AI overview ads. So his post says AI overview ads are now live in the US. So that means your Google ads, your shopping ads are live in AI mode. That's not the part that got my attention or concerns me. He has one line that says, through Broadmatch, AI Max, and PMax. Okay. So again, I'll read this post once more. AI overview ads are live in the US and coming to more countries. Finally, yay, through Broadmatch, AI Max, and PMax. So this is a massive concern to me, that the only way, apparently, to get into AI mode, is through the use of Broadmatch, AI Max, and PMax. I find it would be absolutely ridiculous for them to gatekeep AI mode by using only their profit-hungry AI-driven campaign types. And I get it. Their whole thing is, AI mode is not, we're not matching keywords. It's matching search themes. And I get that. But with close variance in search campaigns and with shopping campaigns, you're telling me that you can't match a keyword to the search theme of somebody's conversation? No, I see this as hardcore gatekeeping and a reason to leverage a powerful tool like AI mode to advertise saying, oh, you need to give us the keys to your system if you want to show up over here. I am seriously concerned about this and just genuinely bummed. I am quite excited to get ads into AI mode, and I kind of figured it would just be a bit of a seamless system, kind of like Search Partners, where it's like, yeah, your search campaign, regardless of your match type, can still match to a search theme, because we know even exact match is not the exact words that are matching, it's the exact meaning. So why can't they match an exact match keyword to someone's conversation in AI mode? This is ridiculous. I'm really bummed that Google is going to leverage this tool just to try to get you to spend your money in the campaign types that they want you to spend your money in. So anyways, I'm a little bit disgruntled about this one, but go follow Thomas Etchell and, be on the hunt for these kinds of posts, because, this question comes up in my accounts a lot. Like, how do we show up in ChatGPT right now? ChatGPT doesn't have ads yet, though they're coming soon, but, AI mode is probably going to be, the first place where we can see searches in that network, right? And just to summarize, AI mode is Google's version of ChatGPT, right? It is the little tab that you see at the top of the search bar where you can switch your search over to AI mode. I guess I should have started with that. But anyways, that's it from me today. If any of you have questions you want answered on the show, feel free to comment on the YouTube video, send me an email at info@joeybidner.com, or just send me a message on LinkedIn. And if you need help with your account management, you want to hop on a coaching call or get an audit, feel free to reach out to me by email or LinkedIn as well. All right, see you next time.